Sorry about that, guys. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining me on this speech. So today what I want to do is a quick little introduction, tell you guys what I do, and then I want to focus mostly on a Q&A, an interactive session where you guys ask questions and I answer them to the best of my ability, which I really enjoy personally, and I think a lot of you guys will enjoy as well. So think of a question while I do the introduction. Don't be shy. Anything is valid. All questions are amazing. And I know your English is so good. So that's like the first thing when I came to Israel and Tel Aviv I was just shocked by your level of English. So that's amazing. So don't be shy. Ask your questions. Anyway, how many of you guys sitting here right now have come across my work on social media, on the internet? Raise your hands real quick. Okay, amazing. Thank you. So, my name is John Venus. I am a social media influencer. I focus on spreading health, fitness, and just lifestyle on my several different YouTube channels, Instagram, Facebook, that kind of stuff. And I love my job because it's the most fulfilling thing. And I just get reminded of how fulfilling it is every time I come to an event like this where so many vegans are gathered and on the same page, trying to accomplish the same thing. So huge round of applause for each other. Clap it up, because you guys are amazing. Right, so let's rewind about 7 years. This is when I first came across the term vegan. I never, ever heard the term before. I've barely heard the term vegetarian growing up in Brazil. So our family was obviously very, very heavy meat-eating family. We would eat a lot of Brazilian steaks, a lot of chicken hearts. It sounds weird, but that's what we do over there. A lot of sausages, and this would be on a consistent basis twice a week for us as a family for, I don't know, like 18 years until I moved out of the house, basically. So we ate a lot of meat, a lot. And one day, 7 years ago, my brother, Leo, who you guys probably met yesterday, he's here too. He just at a family, dinner. I can't remember exactly how it was or when it was, but he basically just told us all that he was not going to eat any animal products, any meat, any dairy, any eggs. And I just looked at him like what? What are you saying? Because we've always grown up together as a very tight family. The meat is very strong in our culture, so I felt like him saying no thank you to our family tradition was a huge, fuck you to the whole family, and I was really offended by it personally. I was really, really expecting and hoping that he was going to say something like, that he's become a heroin addict or a cocaine addict or something. I would prefer that more than him turning vegan. That's how anti-vegan I was. But, he did his thing. He just didn't pressure anyone else in the family at all. He was providing, health information, documentaries. At that point, I was young and didn't really take health that seriously. So it never convinced me to go vegan personally. But my parents took the science to heart, and they started removing animal products slowly. And eventually, they were doing vegan 5 days a week, and they still kept the 2 days of barbecue in there. So I don't know how much that helped. But it was really cool to see that they actually switched their mindset around that much. And, for me, the health stuff didn't really, it didn't get me anywhere. It didn't motivate me to, look at things. It didn't really motivate me to eat less meat or to eat more plants. It didn't do it for me personally. But one day, me and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, Catherine, we decided to watch a documentary called Earthlings on YouTube. Raise your hands if you know what documentary that is. Amazing. So I'm sure this documentary has turned a lot of people vegan as well, but that was definitely the catalyst for me. So for me, I had to make the ethical, the emotional connection to the animals in order for me to actually switch my lifestyle around. It required me to look at the actual, practices, the slaughter, the horrible abuse that these animals go through. I had to see that in order to really understand it, to get the full picture, and to actually get motivated enough to make a switch. So the day after we watched that movie, 100% plant-based straight away, and haven't looked back since. And that was, almost 5 years ago now. ever since then, I was so shocked that nobody had this information. I was so shocked that I grew up thinking that we needed meat to survive, that we needed meat to be strong. And I was a bodybuilder at that point. I already been lifting and training super hard for 3 years before going vegan. So I was a bit scared, I didn't see that many examples on the internet back then of people who are like, serious bodybuilders competing at the top level. So I was prepared to become one of those tree-hugging, skinny, hippie vegans, I was willing to make the sacrifice for the animals. Luckily enough, that was not the case. I did not lose any muscle. What happened was the opposite. So the first thing that I noticed straight away was my digestion. My digestion got better. It healed right away. Within a couple days or up to a week of going vegan, my constipation was completely healed. I had really bad chronic constipation throughout my whole childhood and teens. I would sometimes go a whole week without going to the bathroom. It was really bad. And a plant-based diet just fixed that straight away. And this sounds, a little bit weird, and it sounds like, oh, it's probably because he ate meat and no fiber and no plants. But I was actually eating a lot of, beans and rice and vegetables. But the meat on top of that was enough for me to completely, ruin my digestion. So everyone's different. Everyone can tolerate different amounts of animal products and that kind of stuff. But for me, my digestion was really bad with meat. So ever since I turned vegan, I decided to spread this information, to spread this knowledge that no one was talking about on the internet almost. And I really took it to heart and took it as a lifelong mission to promote this message, to open people's eyes to the truth, to be more transparent, to try to be a little bit kinder to each other and to every single living being around us. So that's been my mission ever since. I've documented my journey on YouTube, on Instagram, social media, trying to dispel myths every single day, answering where do you get your protein every single day for the last 5 years. It doesn't stop. It's annoying, but I'm going to keep going anyways. All the things that I've seen during these past 5 years have been super inspirational for me. Just seeing how fast the vegan movement has grown is amazing, and especially coming here to Tel Aviv, it's kind of like coming to the future and seeing how everything is going to progress in the rest of the world. So I'm really pumped to be here, and it's really cool how far you guys have come, and it's all because of your efforts and your relentless activism. So thank you so much for leading the way. All right, guys, so I just want to go straight to the questions and answers because I think that's way more fun. I have no idea if I'm boring you guys to death right now, so let's just do it. If you have a question, raise your hand and someone will come give you a microphone. And I'll answer any question. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be personal, could be about health, fitness, nutrition, doesn't matter.
John, can you use this?
Yeah, for sure. Hello. Yep. B12. Okay. Just B12. Is that the question? Yeah. Yeah. So B12. I get a lot of questions about B12, and the top experts in the plant-based nutrition world are always recommending us to take a B12 supplementation just to be on the safe side. Now, do I believe that we absolutely know 100% that we actually need to supplement with it? I can't say. I know a lot of vegans who are maybe more reckless than most people who have never taken B12 supplements, but I wouldn't use them as motivation to try that for yourself. So the top professionals do recommend a B12 supplementation, so that is what I will recommend as well. Yes, over here?
Yeah, so for bodybuilding, I'm currently using shakes. So you do soya powder shakes. What do you consume to build with protein?
What protein shakes I consume? Okay. Yeah, I do drink protein shakes, not that much, but I'll have a 25-gram or 35-gram scoop of protein powder into my smoothies almost every day. If I'm training, if I'm not training, I don't take protein powder. But I don't do soy because there are some studies suggesting that isolated soy is a lot worse than something like pea protein or rice protein. So I just choose a different blend of hemp, pea, and rice protein depending on the work with a company called Vivo Life, so they do cold press hemp and pea, I believe. I'm probably getting this wrong, but yeah, I don't do soy personally. But it's not necessary. You don't need a protein shake, a protein powder to get enough protein as a vegan. You absolutely do not. And you don't even need to if you want to build optimal amounts of muscle and get as big as possible. At the end of the day, the calories are the most important thing. Of course, you need a lot of protein, but you can get it from food. It's harder, way harder. That's why I have a protein powder, because it's convenient. I don't need to cook all day. But it's definitely not a necessity. My daily requirement for protein. So this is something also that the fitness and the health industry did not know, because there are a lot of different factors and it's very individual how much protein you need. That's what I believe, at least. And from like coaching so many people, it tends to vary a lot. But there are studies saying that you definitely do not need more than 0.8 grams of protein per pound, which is almost like around 2 grams per kilo or something like that. That is like the upper level for top athletes. So the average person or average lifter probably doesn't need that much. And I've experimented with high protein amounts. I've experimented with very low protein amounts. And I do notice a little bit of a benefit when I have more protein, but not much. So for the average person, I don't think there is a difference at all. I should go back there. Right. How to get to 7% body fat with tofu? Yeah. So the question was, how do you lose fat when the protein sources on the vegan diet are attached to carbohydrates and fats, right? Because beans, for example, are a great source of protein, but it has a lot of carbohydrates as well. And a lot of us have been taught that carbs are to be avoided, that carbs make you gain weight, that carbs are bad for you, which is definitely not the case. I mean, I know that it's super easy to lose body fat with a high amount of carbohydrates. There are studies out there showing that groups that are eating higher carb compared to lower carb lose fat faster. So low carb groups actually tend to have a harder time losing body fat and building muscle and retaining muscle mass when on a severe caloric deficit. So definitely a benefit of the vegan diet is that there's more carbohydrates. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. So I would say, because most of the foods on a plant-based diet that are rich in protein are attached to carbohydrates, then the most common sense thing to do is not to go too crazy on the fats when you're trying to lose body fat. If you're trying to gain weight, amazing. But if you're trying to lose body fat and lose weight, you might want to keep the fats a little bit lower, just because automatically your carbs are going to be higher. And in my experience, personally, and coaching many people, when you tend to eat a lot of carbs with a lot of fats, your digestion isn't working optimally, and people tend to have a harder time losing body fat and losing weight. Yeah. Yeah, right next. Okay, do I recommend intermittent fasting, and do I practice it? Great question, especially right after the previous speech about fasting. I do not fast. I have done, short fasts, like, 3 days or something like that. And intermittent fasting is something that I just, I'd say I do it for a couple months of the year, just in summertime, because I don't feel as hungry in summer. So my body automatically goes into a routine of intermittent fasting. So I don't really eat in the morning a lot of times in summer for some reason. So I just listen to my body. I do whatever feels natural. If I'm feeling hungry in the morning, I'm going to eat in the morning. If I don't feel hungry in the morning, I'm not going to eat. So sometimes I'll do 16, 18-hour, fast, intermittent fast protocol, but it's not something that I calculate or try to do. It's just something that happens automatically and naturally. And that is what I recommend to most people, especially when it comes to everyday life. Just do whatever feels, like you can sustain it the most, because like sticking to something that is very, very, different from what you're used to, like a 18-hour, fasting window, it's going to be super challenging to stick to. So obviously, the number one priority is getting healthy whole foods in, and then you can add these little beneficial things like fasting and tweaking your diet and macronutrient amounts and that kind of stuff. Yes, down here. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Could you repeat that, please? Sorry.
How much times a week you go to the gym, and how long is your training? And I would like to know also your menu.
Everything, basically, right? All right, let's do this. We got like 2 hours, right? So I train 6 times a week usually. I try to do as much training as possible. When I do train, if I'm doing a little bit of cardio, like like a half an hour warm up or something like that, my sessions will be more like 1 hour and a half. And if I don't do cardio, it's like 50 minutes to 1 hour, and that is what I try to aim for every single day. Yeah. And my diet and exactly what I eat on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I have a YouTube channel where I show this. I have 100 episodes of what I eat in a day, like showing exactly what I eat from the moment that I get up to the moment I go to bed. So if you're wondering exactly what I eat, just head to my YouTube channel and you'll see. But basically, it's mostly whole plant foods. Of course, I'm a big junk food lover. I love pizza and ice cream. Those are my favorite foods. So I do, indulge myself sometimes. But I do try to stick to whole foods as much as possible because that is, what has been proven to be the most beneficial to our bodies. Yeah, right here. Right. Yeah.
What's from a time difference perspective, how long were they taken apart and what was your process to get from one to the other?
Okay, great question. So the question was, I uploaded a picture on Instagram and Facebook of me when I was going through a very hardcore junk food binging phase. I gained a lot of body fat, a lot of weight. I was weighing 102 kilos, 224 pounds. And I did a before and after. So the after picture was when I lost all the body fat that I gained. Not all, but most of it. And kind of regained a healthy relationship to food rather than just going on a crazy yo-yo bodybuilding diet where you're trying to cut down and then bulk up all the time. So that's... Sorry? Yeah. How old? I don't know. This was like 2 years... the first picture was like... So this was, like 3 years ago now. 3 years ago. So... the fat picture was 3 years ago. That's right, yeah. So I have to admit that, for me, it was not about, going and restricting my calories. It was not about tracking macros. For me, what fixed my relationship to food was really, trying to do everything from an intuitive place, right? Like I always tell people on social media that the end goal for everyone should be to intuitively eat. Like it doesn't make sense for all of us to just, be on our phones and tracking every single calorie and gram of fiber that we're eating every day. It's absolutely helpful and beneficial to do so, to learn how your body works, to learn how many calories you need to thrive and to reach the goal that you want to reach. But once you get the idea, once you know what foods to eat, once you know that you have to, choose different food groups, then it's going to be a lot easier to do intuitive choices and to eat just like without tracking everything. It's much easier. So for me to lose all of that body fat that I gained during that binging phase was, I'd say it took me about 4 months or something. I had to get married, so like I had some extra motivation. I had to actually get rid of some of the body fat that I gained just for the wedding because I already had a super hard time finding a dress or like a thing that actually fit me. Not a dress, like Catherine wore the dress. But yeah, it took like 4 months. I did it like a lot of cardio, a lot of walking, hiking. Yeah, it took 4 months, and it's not the healthiest way to do it that fast. But the point is, you have to conquer your mind. You have to have a good relationship with food and do things intuitively instead of just looking to diet down and look good for a certain occasion. The aim is to look good and feel good, most importantly, all year round.
Were you just saying that you're not doing the cut and bulk method? Because it's really rare to hear that. There are a lot of researches show that you cannot burn fat and gain muscle at the same time. So how do you explain that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So firstly, I don't enjoy using the bulking and cutting terms too much because I believe it leads to unhealthy behavior. It leads to overconsumption of calories by a long shot. It's not like people are eating 100, 200 calories above their maintenance levels. People are going super hard, like eating 1,000, 2,000 calories above what they need to be eating. And as a result, developing health issues, gaining a lot of body fat, making their life a lot harder in the future, right? So that's why I don't recommend it personally. Now, for me, it's more of a natural cycle. Like I was saying with intermittent fasting, in summer, I just don't feel as hungry. I feel more like, just moving around and, doing more cardio, that kind of stuff. So I automatically lose more body fat. In winter, it's cold, it's miserable, especially in Norway. There's no sunshine, so I tend to eat a lot more calories, and naturally I'll bulk up in the winter. But it's not intentional. It's just something. It's like a natural cycle that I've come into, and this is because I've been lifting and bodybuilding for 8 full years now, and taking it very, very seriously. So it takes time to know exactly how to do this completely intuitively, especially when it comes to bodybuilding. Just to remain healthy and eat a healthy whole plant food diet, it doesn't take that much effort. Like you can get that down pretty quickly. But when it comes to bodybuilding and choosing foods intuitively that have the most benefit for building muscle, takes a little bit of experience and time to develop. What was the second part of the question again? Oh, there was no, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, next question. Oh, back there. Stripes. How long do we have to sleep? Okay. To maximize your muscle gains and fitness performance. Okay. So sleep is obviously extremely important. It's very, very important. Now, how much sleep you need is, again, individual, and obviously research tends to show closer to 8 hours or something like that. But in reality, I think it's not as important as people believe it to be. And this is a little bit controversial, but I'll say sleep is super important. But I'd say your mental health, your stress levels are equally, if not even more important. So I think if you're sleeping 8 hours, but you're waking up miserable and you're stressed and you're angry at the world, then it's not going to help that much. But yeah, sleep is super important. I recommend to sleep as much as you can. Obviously don't sleep like 12 hours a day or something, but sleep until you feel like you're fully rested. And then after that, make sure to focus on healthy behavior that gets you to come into a place of positive thinking and, to remove stress from your life, because that is the number one, like lack of sleep and stress are the number one enemies when it comes to health, and especially when you're trying to lose weight or that kind of stuff, you really don't want to be stressed or lacking in sleep. Yeah. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the question is, do I feed my kid a vegan diet? A lot of people will say no because they say breast milk isn't vegan, so, if that is the case, no. But yeah, for sure, we do feed Noah, our baby boy, a fully vegan diet. We do take care of his health, obviously, so we know the benefits of eating a whole food plant-based diet. So obviously we're going to do what we feel is best for him. Now, it's a lot of pressure, especially on the internet. Like, there are videos that I had to delete just because it was like the crazy response, especially when I was talking about this online. I remember a group of ketogenic people or whatever, like paleo or carnivores, whoever it was, they were like, spamming the Norwegian government, like calling them, trying to get child services to take the kid away from us and that kind of stuff. It was pretty crazy. And this is just the beginning. Like, it's gonna get worse and worse, I believe. But it's important. The most important thing for me, is to do the research, to be confident in your choices, and then to stick to your guns. Because if you allow other people's fear seep into your life, you're going to make bad decisions, you're going to question yourself, and you're not going to be comfortable with the choice that you're making for your child. So you have to be confident in your choice so that you know that you're doing the best for yourself, for your child, for the planet, for the animals, everything. Yeah. Great questions. How am I overcoming training challenges, and do I eat organic food? So I eat organic when I can, as often as I can. It's a little bit more pricey, and I don't necessarily believe that, non-organic foods are horrible. Obviously, there are some fruits and vegetables that are really bad when they're not organic because, of different factors. But at the same time, if you can't afford organic food, then, it's better to eat non-organic vegetables and fruits than to go for Oreos or, whatever else, processed garbage. So, and how I do to overcome training plateaus and that kind of stuff, I just focus on really changing up my routine. So I am a fitness coach, I'm a personal trainer, but I never follow a routine myself, which is really hypocritical. I give routines to so many people, but I never actually follow one myself because that's not how I work. I really like changing it up every single day that I work out. I like changing it up, on the spot. It doesn't like everything is completely random. I do keep track of the volume in my mind. I just do the math and make sure that I get a certain amount of sets per workout. But apart from that, everything is improvised, and that is why I almost never plateau because, also I'm not training for strength or doing powerlifting. If I did, then I would hit a lot more plateaus, and I would have to do deload weeks and take breaks, etc. But the progressive overload principle is the thing to keep in mind. Always making sure that you're progressing in your training by either increasing the amount of weights that you're using or the amount of reps that you're doing on that exercise. So always progressing in some way. Obviously, you can't do that forever. It takes time. And then when you hit that plateau, just stay there for as long as you feel comfortable. If you're feeling a little bit weaker or fatigued, just stop and then, come back to it after a week of lower weights, for example. Yeah. Yeah, out here.
How do you feel about fasting? How do you feel about fasted cardio or fasted working out in general?
Fasted cardio and fasted working out. Great question. So again, during summer when I'm doing automatically doing intermittent fasting, I'll train in the morning still, so I'll train fasted, and I have no issues. I actually enjoy it quite a bit. And now recently, just because I'm just hungry all day, because I've been injured for a year and a half now, so I've purposely tried to keep my body weight down and my calories low. So now that I'm finally feeling good and growing again, I'm just eating so many calories. It's not even fun. But yeah, sorry, what was the second part again? Oh, do I feel if it helps? Okay. No. I mean, it's all personal preference. Just like intermittent fasting, everything is personal preference. If you feel better working out in the morning on an empty stomach, you should do that. If you feel better with a little bit of energy from, a couple pieces of fruit or a bowl of oatmeal an hour before working out, then do that. It's all about personal preference. There is nothing, unless you're on there are certain situations where it might be better not to, train fasted. For example, I think that if you're already on a very large caloric deficit, then it might be more beneficial to eat something before your workout than if you're already eating enough calories to be on, around maintenance or even on a surplus. Yeah. Yeah, back there. Calcium. Yeah. How do you know if you're getting enough calcium? So this is for any nutrients that you're wondering about, I do recommend this website called chronometer.com. This is a calorie and micronutrient tracking app. It's really handy because it shows all the RDIs and the daily recommended amounts. So that's what I do. I just log everything in there. I don't do it because because I just don't track. But when I'm filming a video, for example, I'll do that. And you can see all of the micronutrients, all the vitamins, minerals, omega-3s, omega-6s, different amino acids. Yeah. Fiber? What? How do you know if the calcium gets absorbed into your body if you're eating, vegan sources of calcium? Yeah. So actually, the bioavailability of calcium in certain leafy greens, for example, are higher than from much higher than from dairy. So like as long as you're eating leafy greens and you're getting your seeds and nuts in. Like I think I've never heard anyone run into issues with calcium. It's been like on the very bottom of a priorities. Like I don't know anyone who's got issues with calcium. So yeah, I mean if you're worried, again, just smash in some kale or dark leafy greens, broccoli. These things have a lot of calcium, and again, they're more bioavailable than dairy, so you don't need to have as much as when you're having dairy. So that's good. Yeah, right here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to Israel.
Thank you.
What would you say to a bodybuilder that eats fish, he eats cheese, but he eats it only because he needs protein and he needs it in the easy way? The second thing is, do you eat pastries, and what do you think about Gandizzo Stefan?
All right, so I have not had that. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but I haven't had that yet, but I am looking forward to trying that. I love pastries. Yeah, cinnamon buns are my favorite. I'm addicted to it. So, in terms of building muscle by eating meat compared to other things, like sure, it's easier to get your protein by eating meat because it's a muscle with protein. Yeah, so it's easy, but it doesn't mean that it's not easy on a vegan diet, right? Because once you've done it a couple times, once you get used to it, it's absolutely no problem. Like it's not really hard to just remove the chicken from your plate and just replace that with tempeh, for example. It's very, very simple, and tempeh, for example, has a huge amount of protein as well. So it's not like you're missing out on the amount either that much. Sure. Yeah, well, the thing is that meal prepping and preparing your food on a plant-based diet to bring with you to work or to school is way easier. It's way safer because you're like there is a lot less chance of things going wrong. I mean, like leafy greens is one thing, like it could be problematic, but things like beans and rice, quinoa, these things can be easily prepped and brought along. Tempeh, tofu, these things as well. Yeah, they don't go bad as quickly as meat would. Yeah. Do I recommend working out in the morning or afternoon for muscle recovery? Again, personal preference. It doesn't matter. Like there is some research suggesting one to be better than the other, but in my opinion, I don't think it's too valid. And I really think that it comes down to your personal preference and other lifestyle factors. Like if you're training at night, are you still able to have a good night's sleep? Some people can't. So for those people, it's not a good idea. How close to bed are you eating? If you're eating, a post-workout meal right before going to bed, that might mess up your quality of sleep as well. So it really depends on your schedule. If you allow a couple hours before going to bed, you're probably fine. But if you're eating and then going straight to bed, then it's probably not a good idea. Some people get super hyped up and energetic and alert when they work out as well. So for those people, it might not be a good idea to work out too late at night either. So, it's personal preference. I personally work out in the mornings, but before I used to work out, at nights and the evenings. And I find that I'm personally stronger in the evening because, I've eaten more calories, I guess, and, different things, and I've gotten the time to wake up. But at the same time, I don't see a difference in the actual progress.
Something that is too long.
Yeah. What do I think about 1 versus 2 training sessions per day, right? Yeah. When it comes to like optimal muscle building, it's not a good idea to train more than once a day for sure. I mean, like if there is a certain amount of exercise, certain amount of volume that you have to hit, right? And you could split it up and have a half an hour session in the morning, a half an hour session at night. If that works better for your lifestyle and your schedule, then that's okay as well. It's completely fine. but I just find it inefficient. And what I usually recommend is that if you want to split your workouts out, I would do one session with cardio and then one session with weightlifting, just to spread them out. But I will also recommend to spread them out quite a bit because you need time to recover from one session before starting the next. But it's not something that I really recommend that often because most people only need like an hour of exercise per day, and that's going to be way more than enough for almost everyone.
Hi again. So I want to ask you about your experience taking part in the Gamechangers movie and the reactions you got, any criticism that you have received or good responses.
Okay, great question. About the Gamechangers, by the way, I was not in the movie. A lot of people do think that I'm in the movie, but I'm not. I've been supporting the project for years, and I've been looking forward to it. So I'm really close to the whole team and everyone involved. And it's been a pleasure just looking at everything that has taken place over the last few years. The crew, how much they've grown, the funding they were able to get. All these things were amazing. And in terms of criticism, of course, there's going to be a ton of criticism. There's going to be a massacre out there, or they're going to attempt to discredit everyone in the film, and they've already tried to do that. There are doctors out there saying how the data is biased, how it's cherry-picked, how it's false. But at the same time, this is the documentary that has the most amount of research linked to it in the history of Netflix and probably in the history of documentary films in general. So it's crazy the amount of research and science that is behind the movie, which makes me and so many other people super confident in the information they're providing. It's super accurate. And the thing is, like, if you are going against someone's kind of deep emotions, if you're recommending something that triggers someone, if you're saying that someone should go vegan and they feel personally attacked, again, they're gonna hate whatever information you're giving them. They're gonna hate the Gamechangers. They're gonna hate health, Cowspiracy, forks over knives. It doesn't matter what you throw their way. If they have a negative emotional attachment to the vegan message, they're gonna try to debunk, criticize, and everything. So I think the Gamechangers did a really good job in pushing the message in a very not passive, but like a more calm way, just like showing case studies and just black and white scientific studies that prove that eating plant-based is not going to be detrimental to your health or to your fitness. It might even be more beneficial. So I think they really did a good job by also choosing numbers that were on the lower end of the spectrum. That was really cool that they did, because I think I heard a podcast with Dr. Michael Greger. He was explaining how instead of choosing the highest number to make the vegan or the plant-based diet seem amazing, they were still choosing the lowest number ever, and it was still, even if they still chose those numbers, it was still super impressive what they were able to do. So I think the whole message and the way they're approaching everything was really smart psychologically, and I think it's going to have a massive impact on culture over time. And I think it's already one of the most watched documentaries like on Netflix of all time. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, right there. Just shout. Sure. Yeah. How important is the bioavailability of protein? That is a question. So the bioavailability of protein is obviously important, right? We want to be absorbing all the nutrients that we're eating. And it is actually true that some plants have lower bioavailability of protein than meat, eggs, and animal products. It's like it goes right in, right? It's absorbed immediately, but that doesn't mean it's good, because it's attached. It contains so many other things that are detrimental and problematic to your health. But it is true, some plants are lower in certain amino acids. Some plants have lower bioavailability. Things like chickpeas, soy are super bioavailable. It's almost no difference from soy and chickpeas compared to meat and chicken and these things. So that's very, very close. But then you have things like I believe lentils are a little bit lower. Wheat is way, way lower. So there is a different level and absorption rate to every different type of food depending on many, many different things. But in general, if you're eating, things like beans, tempeh tofu, and chickpeas, and quinoa, then you're not going to go wrong. Like you're going to get all the protein that you need, and it's all going to absorb without an issue. Not all, but enough. Yeah, right here, or where? Yeah, follow the microphone. I'll come back to you afterwards. Okay, well, we'll do her first, and I'll come back to you, sorry.
How many nuts or grains we are supposed to eat? And another question, what do you think about supplements?
How many nuts and seeds, did you say? Yeah. How much nuts and seeds to eat, and what is my opinion on supplementation? So nuts and seeds, I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of dietary fat, 100%. I don't think it's a good idea to overconsume them just because they're very high in calories. And again, if you're eating a lot of fruits and high carbohydrate foods combined with a lot of high fatty foods, it could be problematic to your digestion, to weight loss, to your body composition, that kind of stuff. But in general, I think nuts and seeds are extremely healthy. I recommend every single client of mine to eat nuts and seeds just because there's so many different benefits. There are amazing, mineral contents in loads of different seeds and nuts. So definitely not something to shy away from. How much it's up to you. Like if you don't mind, carrying a little bit of extra body fat and you don't really care, then just go for whatever you want. But I personally recommend, because people want numbers and want math, I usually give my clients around 20% of the calories coming from fats, and not a lot, but like good amount of that will be from nuts and seeds. So like a handful of nuts and seeds per day. That's what I personally, consume, and a lot of other vegan experts have recommended the same thing. And supplementation. When it comes to, if you're trying to reverse some sort of deficiency, for sure, supplementation can be amazing. But when it comes to just living an optimal, healthy lifestyle, I tend to be a little bit more skeptical than most people when it comes to supplementation. I'm a big fan, and I use, B12, for example, and DHA once in a while. But in general, I think that in order to be healthy and to have a truly healthy diet, you shouldn't need to supplement. So if you're eating a varied diet full of whole plant foods with nuts, seeds, legumes, fruits, vegetables, you're going to get all the minerals and vitamins and nutrients. Yeah. Yes. Oh, wait. The microphone's there. Sorry.
Hi. I have two questions.
Okay. Yep.
One, what do you eat to feel more energized? And second, how are you liking Israel so far? Like, have you been to any vegan restaurants? How are you staying here?
I'm loving Israel. It's amazing. So I have not been at restaurants and that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to going to, everyone's been saying Anastasia, so I'm going to just go there. We'll see how that is. What do I eat to feel more energized? I would, I have no problem eating food. I can eat food all day long, so I'm just constantly energized. There's no issue for me. But some people feel better on different foods. So some people swear that they feel super sleepy and lethargic when they eat oatmeal in the morning, and they prefer to have it later in the day or something. I've never had that issue. I've had oatmeal in the morning for 15 years in a row or something like that. Any food that gives you energy is going to give you energy, right? But usually carbohydrates are going to be the quickest kind of thing to get energy from. So fruits and that kind of stuff is always something that I have pre-workout, and what I recommend people to have before a workout is just fast digesting sugar and carbohydrates that go right to your system. So yeah. Okay, so last question, I believe, right? Last question.
Hi.
Hello.
how did social media change your life? How do you deal with the fame? And also, do you have any upcoming projects?
Upcoming projects. Okay. So the question was, how has social media changed my life? How has fame changed my life? And do I have any upcoming projects? So, social media has, obviously, I mean, like everything I do is social media. My life is completely 100%, not 100%, but it's very public, and I put myself out there. So, it didn't matter too much in the beginning when no one was paying attention, but now, when I have, hundreds of thousands of people paying attention, then it's a little bit of a different story. Obviously, there are loads more opportunities coming my way, a lot of, business opportunities, a lot of events, a lot of things that I can spend my time on. So in that sense, it's really changed my life in terms of seeing how much opportunity there is to make the world a happier and kinder place, to promote veganism and a healthy, lifestyle. So I would say that apart from that, it's actually, it sounds really weird, but the one negative thing about social media and having micro fame or whatever you want to call it, I don't consider myself famous whatsoever, but the thing that I don't enjoy is like I like hiding away. I like going hiding and doing weird things and climbing stuff. Picking my nose as well. I like picking my nose a lot. And being a public figure, you're always wondering, is someone going to see me picking my nose this time? So that's the only thing that I don't enjoy. And obviously, after having my son, after having my kid, it's also been a little bit challenging because, there's so much criticism, there's so many hateful messages, so many threats, even death threats and these things. People just think that you're absolutely nuts. And this is the thing that comes with social media, especially when you're a vegan influencer. It's nothing like being an influencer in other places. It's like even if I have 1/10 of the followers or subscribers or whatever than some famous YouTuber has, because we're in this lifestyle and because we're doing this, important work, there is such a microscope, such a magnifying glass on every movement that vegans, especially on social media, do, and so much criticism. So it's a lot harder than a lot of other fields, but it's part of the job. I accept the challenge. I'm going to do my best. They're not going to be able to shut me up. You guys are going to get sick of hearing from me, so there is no end to this. Okay, guys, well, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate every single one of you to be here today listening to me, so thank you so much.